Welcome everyone to this, our second episode of Enochs Corner. My name is Sky, your main host. Over here we have Daryl, our co-host, and as well joining us today with mic and video, Terry. Daryl will be making most of the readings, and between all of us we'll be doing all of the commentary. Commentaries are basically based off whatever we read, comments that we receive from the general public, comments of our own that we might have. At the end of the day, what we are looking for is a communal truth, a truth that doesn't necessarily belong to us,
Yes.
but a truth that belongs to everyone.
Yes.
Could we actually call that somewhat of a consensus meeting?
Consensus.
Something that everyone can agree on.
All right. Well, without getting too controversial right up the front,
Why would we
I
do
suppose
that?
a communal truth. Does it bother me? What we're trying to say, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but what we're trying to say is that we're actually deducing the truth from foundational readings.
That much is quite true.
We're not actually just after everybody's total random opinions, but opinions based on sound foundational writings.
Well, that would be even more so if we follow along the lines of what we're trying to achieve, which is basically establish a lot of what we're reading as factual.
Yes, yeah. We're after, what we're saying is that these books, these ancient books, these old tomes, are laying down a synchronized spectrum of information which does not contradict itself in any way, no matter which one you read. It all fits in jigsaw style, hand in glove, as we said before, and therefore we're inclined to believe that they are valid.
Well, yeah, I mean, not many things can withstand the change of time.
No.
And these books have maintained consistency throughout thousands of years, thousands of different cultures,
Yes.
and thousands of different translations.
And not many philosophers agree. You've only got to look at contemporary philosophy, well, even going back 800 or 900 years, to see that one philosopher completely contradicts another philosopher all the time.
Yeah, but what we're wanting to do is seek the truth not only for ourselves, but to have others who are seeking the truth to join in with us and together talk about the foundations of these readings and where they come from.
We're on a mission.
We're on a mission.
We're on a mission, yep. And by the looks of it, we're not the only ones, because we've already received our first question, which is actually quite an interesting one, and it ties in
Yes.
really well with everything we're doing, because there is more than just belief to truth. There is also the choice of believing that truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
And everybody have different choices and the way they take those choices.
Yes.
And that's where we'll bring up the main question of one of our viewers, which pretty much sparked the beginnings of all this choice,
Yes.
so to speak. So if you just want to read out the question, and we'll see what we can find.
All right. The question is from Peter, and it says, I struggle with the idea of free choice. If the events of prophecy are set in stone and will come to pass, then free choice becomes an illusion, doesn't it? Sure, we have a choice to do right and wrong, but in the end, your choices are preconceived and locked into fate. Hence, you do not have the choice to change your fate. Interested to hear?
I mean, at least from my point of view, and from what I've learned over time, a lot of people confuse the choice you make versus prophetical outcomes.
Okay.
A lot of people say, like, for example, in the same question, free choice is a bit of an illusion because it doesn't really matter because your choices are already preconceived.
I believe they call that fatalism.
True. From my point of view, it's not your choices what are preconceived, it is the final outcome. And no matter what your choices are, nothing will alter the coming of that outcome.
Yeah, that is incredibly deep, and I don't think people. I think that's at the moment. I'd like to explore that part of it. Yeah.
Well, in a sense, what it might change is your position in that outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Can I jump the gun a little bit? Yeah. Okay. From reading now, I don't know how many dozens and dozens of these apocryphal works, including Enoch, it becomes obvious that there's an end game to all of this. And it would seem that the end game is even written in the Book of Revelation, in the standard everyday common garden variety Bible. And the end game is something called the bride. And what the Most High is after is finalizing a bride. And in fact, everything that's gone on in history, regardless, works towards the bride.
But what would be the bride from your point of view?
All right. Now, this is where are we going to just plunge into this and get really deep straight up? We're not having a cup of coffee or anything in the meantime? Or, no, okay. Let's just get...
Irrelevant. Right. It still ties into the question at hand.
Yes.
So.
Okay. The bride, as I understand it, and please, if someone out there is reading the Apocrypha, if someone out there has got any further comments on this, yes, but I'm going to put in my sixpence worth. I understand it from reading these books that the bride is collectively the souls of all that have lived and will be redeemed.
Or have been redeemed at that point of becoming
or have been redeemed at that point. I also do understand that this bride is perfect in every way. Perfect. And this bride in no way will be sick.
Or corrupted or corruptible.
Yeah. Let me put it this way. If you're going to use the analogy, because I find that even in our creation here, that there are many analogies. Marriage, children, some of the ways we feel. There are many strong spiritual analogies. However, one of the analogies that come across to me is that your body happens to be composed of somewhere in the vicinity of 7 trillion cells. Now, each one of those cells is completely individual. However, each one of those cells is also complementary to every other single cell. And so it wouldn't matter if the cell was on the top of your head, and it wouldn't matter if the cell was on the tip of your toe. Those two cells would be complementary to each other and equally important and comprising the entire body.
Yeah.
And contributing to the function of the entire body and other things as well, which we won't go into because time won't allow it. However, So those cells collectively work to become essentially you.
That's right.
Now, the souls that have been matured, grown. All right, let's break it down a little bit further. The earth, what is the earth for? Well, argue with me, folks, please. But I think, well, I don't think. I'm just going by what the Apocrypha says. I don't think I'm pretty thick actually, but like I'm going by what the Apocrypha says, and the Apocrypha will say that this earth is a womb. You can read that, by the way, in the 4th Ezra. If anybody's interested in the Apocrypha, where they get that from, read 4th Ezra, the book of. You'll see that the earth is a womb. And so what we are in here is a maturation period, where individually, as, shall we say, cells, we mature, and there will come a time when those cells are birthed. As what? As one. As one.
But following that same analogy with the cells, and here's where I truly believe that the fate of each person isn't set in concrete.
Yeah.
And that is the fact that up until the very end, each man has the choice whether they will conform part of that cell by accepting Most High,
Yes.
or they won't.
Yes.
That is, and always has been described as, your final choice, and the only real choice you'll ever have.
Yes. We're going to read about that tonight, by the way. Yes. Because, even though the point's taken here that events of prophecy are set in stone, you will not subvert what will be.
Yeah, no, your choices bear no influence whatsoever on things that are written in stone, because nothing can change that outcome.
That bride will be matured. That bride will be born, regardless.
And it's up to you whether if you'll be there or not.
That's right. You're not locked into a fate. We do have the choice to whether we want to be part of the bride or not. And that's what you were saying. We either want to be part of Most High's kingdom or not.
That's right. I mean, even from the first sin, even though the action of someone or them sinning at that point was set in stone.
Yes.
To a degree.
Yes.
Because even Satan had the choice not to tempt them.
Of course.
Would it have changed whether or not Eve would have taken the fruit? Maybe from Satan's point.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been another angel that would have done the temptation.
And even that, what do you think? That Satan was used as part of the maturation process.
That's right.
So, how does one grow? Okay, if one works out at the gym, how do you grow? Well, you grow from trauma. You grow from traumatizing the muscles and the bones and the tendons and the sinews, and pushing your mind because it hurts. And so you forge forward. Well, what's the difference between that and spiritual muscle?
One hurts a lot more.
Well, I don't know. But what, are you saying that the spiritual muscle hurts a lot more, or the physical muscle? Probably the spiritual muscle. Probably. I would come at that the spiritual muscle would hurt more. And I can see how you'd get this, Peter, that it doesn't matter what we do. Well, in one sense...
It does.
In one sense, it does.
In one sense, it does. Because it's our final choice. What's going to make the difference?
But in another sense, it's all marching forward to the birth of this bride. and we have a choice whether we want to be sick little cells or not. This bride will not have cancer.
Would it be more correct to say that it's not so much that we're choosing to be sick or not, but are we choosing to be cured from the sickness that we might have?
That's such a hot point. Yeah. The choice is: do you want it? Like, yeah, exactly. What? Okay. Adam was a sick little cell. Eve, a sick little cell. Did they want to be cured? Did they want to be renovated?
Well, how many times did they not go back and knock the door?
Yeah. That's a really valid point, is that what's happening here is that, yes, we were cancerous, and now we've had the solution. And we can choose the solution.
Yes.
Just don't, like we were saying in the first episode, don't cry about the consequences of your choices. If you want to choose not to be cured,
Yes.
just don't come whinging back.
He's cruel, isn't he? Terrible. Terrible man. Yeah. How do we get associated with people like this? Please answer if anybody's got any further ideas on that. Yes, we will. We will further discuss it, because just a short discussion like that in no way can comprehensively cover that subject. And people have been debating that for centuries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So just a short dissertation won't do it any good. But hey, maybe we can start a bit of a ball rolling towards the truth.
By all means. By all means. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we want the questions and input from the viewers.
Exactly.
Because we don't want it to be our truth. We want something collective, something we can all agree on.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. Well, shall we get underway with what we're going to do is, because this is our second episode, what we're going to do is just recap on Enoch chapter 1. Many people will probably still remember it, anybody that saw that, but still we'll just quickly recap. We won't so much comment on it, but it'll be a lead up into chapter 2.
Yeah, by all means. And with that, we'll start our first chapter.
Book of Enoch. Parable of Enoch on the future lot of the wicked and the righteous, chapter 1. The words of the blessing of Enoch, wherewith he blessed the elect and righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and godless are to be removed. And he took up his parable and said, Enoch, a righteous man, whose eyes were opened by God, saw the vision of the Holy One in the heavens, which the angels showed me, and from them I heard everything, and from them I understood and I saw, but not for this generation, but for a remote one which is for to come. Concerning the elect I said, and took up my parable concerning them, the Holy Great One will come forth from his dwelling, and the eternal God will tread upon the earth, even on Mount Sinai, and appear from his camp, and appear in the strength of his might from the heaven of heavens. And all shall be smitten with fear, and all the watchers shall quake, and great fear and trembling shall seize them unto the ends of the earth. And the high mountains shall be shaken, and the high hills shall be made low, and shall melt like wax before the flame, and the earth shall be wholly rent in sunder. And all that is upon the earth shall perish, and there shall be judgment upon all men. But with the righteous he will make peace, and will protect the elect, and mercy shall be upon them, and they shall all belong to God. They shall be prospered, and they shall all be blessed, and he will help them all. and light shall appear unto them, and he will make peace with them. And behold, he cometh with 10,000s of his holy ones, to execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness, which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which the ungodly sinners have spoken against him. That's the finish of the address, and you can see it's addressed now to the people that are living today. Now that puts an urgency on this reading, because folks, we are today. We are the ones today. That book was meant for us. It's a letter from aeons ago. So here's chapter 2, which starts to tell you what happened. Chapter 2. Observe ye everything that takes place in heaven, how they do not change their orbits, and the luminaries which are in heaven, how they all rise and set in order, each in its season, and transgress not against their appointed order. Behold ye the earth, and give heed to the things which take place upon it from first to last, how steadfast they are, how none of the things upon the earth change, but all the works of God appear to you. Behold the summer and the winter, how the whole earth is filled with water, and clouds and dew and rain lie upon it. Chapter 3. Observe and see how, in the winter, all the trees seem as though they had withered, and shed all their leaves, except 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage, but retain the old foliage from 2 or 3 years, till the new comes. Chapter 4. And again observe ye the days of summer, how the sun is above the earth, over against it, and you seek shade and shelter by reason of the heat of the sun, and the earth also burns with growing heat, and so you cannot tread on the earth or on a rock by reason of its heat. Chapter 5. Observe ye how the trees cover themselves with green leaves and bear fruit. Wherefore give ye heed, and know with regard to all his works, and recognize how he that liveth for ever hath made them so. And all his works go on, and thus from year to year for ever, and all the tasks which they accomplish for him, and their tasks change not, but according as God hath ordained, so it is done. And behold, how the sea and the rivers like manner accomplish and change not their task from his commandments. But ye have not been steadfast, nor done the commandments of the Lord. But ye have turned away, and spoken proud and hard words with your impure mouths against his greatness. O ye hard-hearted, ye shall find no peace. And therefore shall ye extricate your days, and the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied in eternal execration. And ye shall find no mercy. In those days ye shall make your names an eternal execration unto all the righteous, and by you shall all who curse, and all the sinners and godless shall imprecate by you. And for you, the godless, there shall be a curse. And all the shall rejoice, and there shall be forgiveness of sins, and have mercy and peace and forbearance. There shall be salvation unto them, a goodly light. And for all of you sinners there shall be no salvation, but on you shall abide a curse. But for the elect there shall be light and joy and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. And then there shall be bestowed upon the elect wisdom, and they shall all live and never again sin, and even through ungodliness or through pride, but they who are wise shall be humble. They shall not again transgress, nor shall they sin all the days of their life, nor shall they die of the divine anger or wrath, but they shall complete the number of the days of their life, and their lives shall be increased in peace, and the years of their joy shall be multiplied in eternal gladness and peace all the days of their life.
See, even in this section, it's pretty much saying everyone has a choice, even back then. Because it's addressing specifically the ones that haven't followed the words, the ones that transgressed against it. That was a choice, and a choice that they could have freely not taken.
In the Book of Enoch, it hasn't yet told you who the ye are. It's making an address to somebody who has yet been unnamed. They will be named, as you shall soon find out. But obviously the ye are a total opposing force here of some kind.
Ones that know no rest.
Who have obviously chosen something. They have chosen something. They've chosen to go the opposite way to all of creation.
Or even worse, they have chosen to make creation their own.
Yeah, that's quite profound. They've decided to steal it, maybe?
Even possibly worse, try to convince everyone that they're the ones that created it.
Oh, yeah.
Not much different to the Garden of Eden, is it?
It's not much different to that.
You mean something else created rather than Most High?
No, I've always been of the thought that in both opposing sides, the side that opposed specifically because they wanted to be on top.
Yep.
And when they couldn't have it, the best way to have it is to convince everyone else that they are Most High in one capacity or another.
See, what you've just said there is another parody to this whole spiritual struggle, isn't it? I think that everybody, if they cast their mind back in their own lives, will have vivid memories of being put down by somebody. And they'll probably have vivid memories of occasions of them rising and feeling very jealous of another's good fortune, perhaps a younger brother, perhaps some school friend or some business associate, which they resent them being on top of them, which is the opposite to humility. And so the choice will be, shall I be conducive to them, or shall I show them in the way I speak to them or look to them or behave with them that I am not pleased? And shall I try and sabotage them?
Well, that last bit would pretty much make you know better than them.
Yeah.
As bad as they are, it is still their choice to do what they do.
Yes.
Your choice could be boiling down to either going against it, not going against it,
Yes.
or doing what you were asked to do from the very beginning.
Yes.
Just ignore it.
Can I say this then, that is your choice motivated, possibly, your choice I'm talking about, is motivated from two different points of the compass. So choice possibly could be motivated by the feeling of security to yourself, peace to yourself, joy to yourself, and really nothing more to gain because you're quite content. Or the opposite end of the compass is that is your choice motivated from what you feel you've been robbed of. And therefore you come out snarling and snapping. So at one end of the compass, you're quite secure and happy and don't have anything more to gain. On the other side, you think that you've got everything to gain by defeating somebody. Both of those choices, starting from each of those camps, could very well then decide the way that you choose.
True, but at that point, wouldn't you be letting the outcome influence your choice?
The outcome influence the choice?
It's like what happens with a dog. If you feed it enough times when it sits, eventually it will learn to sit.
Yeah.
If we are taking a choice because of the outcome that we're going to have,
yeah,
more so than taking a choice because we want to take that choice.
Yes.
It's like when a kid misbehaves. I mean, if you ground the kid, you end up instilling fear in that kid that if he does something wrong, he'll be grounded. Isn't it much better to teach the kid that the difference in between what's something right and what's something wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, you'll have both consequences on both sides.
Yeah.
With the good and the bad. But isn't it better to teach the kid to enjoy doing something good regardless of the fact of there's going to be a reward because of it?
Of course it is, which I think puts what I was saying in a different way. In other words, that you start from a position of your choice is motivated because you just think that's the thing to do, the good thing, the beneficial thing, the beneficial behavior to another person. It's like there's two kids sitting in a nursery, and one kid has got the ball. And the kid that's got the ball, the other kid's looking at the ball and he's saying, I'd like that ball. And so what he will do perhaps is come over and he'll snatch that ball from the first child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's his choice. He's snatching the ball. Why is he snatching the ball? Well, because he wants it, obviously. The other kid now, because he's had the ball snatched off him, has got two choices, depending where he's coming from. He could be a little total brat and get up after the ball's being nicked off him and go and punch the other kid.
Retaliation.
Or he could say, okay, no problems. I'll have the ball later. Or, there's another ball. Or, yeah, good on you. You can have the ball for a while, I don't care.
If you want it that badly?
If you want it that badly, go for it, sunshine. But there's outcomes here from the one that's where the ball has been pinched from, isn't there? And so, so either that child is now going to behave from a benevolent or an outraged selfishness. And so it depends on your starting point, doesn't it, as to what you're going to do. And so you could even argue then, you could say, all right, but it was my ball to start with, and justice would say he's going to give it back now. And if he doesn't give it back now, he's going to get a punch in the mouth.
Well, there's a good way to retaliate.
Yes.
And a bad way to retaliate.
Of course, and there's your choices again,
The lop in the head would be the bad one, yes. But a good retaliation could be maybe for the kid to teach the other how to share an object, for example.
Okay.
If you happen to persuade the mind of the kid that snatched the ball to start off with, well, not only have you done a good for the kid, but that kid all of a sudden has a much broader spectrum of choices that he can make further down the line.
Okay, perhaps I'm perhaps I'm just being a little bit too simplistic because I don't know if the child will get up and then consider that he can now teach the other child why not to steal a ball. I don't, maybe. However,
I really don't think children think like this at all.
No, not really.
it's a simplistic way of putting it, isn't it? But the point being is that there's two choices. There's two choices one can make, and one is motivated because you're just simply angry and outraged and you desire that ball more than the other guy. Or
So-
you can just say, I don't care. Yeah, go. You have the ball. And we've all met children of both parties.
Okay, so bringing it back to what we've just read about the sinners and the evildoers.
Yes.
Their choice was Satan's choice was in the garden that he was angry that God had made
Yes.
us in his own image, and his way was to I'll get them to fall, and then they'll be as bad as me, or
Yes.
maybe I've said that wrong, I'm not sure. Instead of choosing to think, well, hey, this is my little brother, we can share.
No.
Well, it was actually a little bit, it wasn't really so much that the point of sharing. Their role was to serve Adam and Eve.
Exactly.
And that's what ticked them off. They're like,
Yeah.
I ain't serving no dust, I'm a light. I'm pure light right here. They had an innate sense of superiority that really wasn't justified by any means.
Well, should we let the cat out of the bag with this book and say that's the ye that we're talking about? Because we haven't actually named the ye yet.
Some things need not be named. Sarcasm is more than enough sometimes.
But you're right, even though you jumped the gun there, but that's okay. But of course, what this is saying is that all creation has made a choice. Now that brings us on back into something even a little bit more basic again, I think. And that is that when we think about creation today, well, we don't even call it creation, do we? We call it evolution. And that's because most people, and even a lot of spiritual people, I suppose, still regard everything as material. Everything is made out of inanimation. Nothing is particularly moving or living. And everything, even trees, water, fire, clouds, rocks, plants,
Rain.
yeah, the sea is all made out of particles that are innate in themselves. Whereas straight away, and you'll see as we keep on reading Enoch, but straight away it's intimating here that these things have a choice. The stars have a choice. What does it say back up on the top again there, Sky? Further back, maybe chapter 2.
Is it this part you're after?
No, back right up in chapter 2. Yeah. Okay. So right back here it says, observe ye everything that takes place in the heavens, how they do not change their orbits. What's everything that takes place in the heaven, how they do not change their orbits? Immediately you have to think of
Planets.
stars,
Celestial bodies.
luminaries, as it says here, which are in heaven, how they all rise and they set in order, each one in its season, and transgress not against their appointed orders. So it's intimating that these things have a choice, whether to do that or not do that. Interesting. Now, we're not saying at the moment at all. We're just reading and getting the context. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it is implied, it is actually said that the luminaries that have transgressed have a special place they go to.
Yeah. And it says, behold ye the earth, and give heed to the things which take place on it from the first to last, how steadfast they are. Steadfast means behavior, means constant behavior, means that they are marching in line, and how none of the things upon the earth change, but all the works of God appear to you. In the summer and the winter, even the seasons, how the whole earth is filled with water, and clouds and dew and rain lie upon it. And see how in the winter all the trees seem as though they had withered and shed all their leaves, except 14 trees, which do not lose their foliage, but retain the old foliage from 2 or 3 years until the new one comes. So it's strongly implying that even the trees follow an order.
Mm.
And therefore, if they follow an order, they have a choice. Now this starts to become interesting, because why a lot of people, I think, would start to squirm and feel uncomfortable in here, including certain Christians, is because what we're hedging on is something which is abhorrent to Westerners and Western Christians and spiritual people, is animism, whereby all objects have a spirit. Now, we're not saying that that is the case or not. We're just reading. The fact that we choose to read Enoch as actual truth, well, that's our choice. I think it's the truth.
That's it.
I'm more inclined then to believe Enoch than I am some scientist. But, hey, whatever. I'm not twisting anybody's arm. You do what you like. However, what we're saying is that in Enoch, these things would seem to have a choice, and therefore they have a free will. But they choose to follow the seasons so far. What about chapter 4? And observe ye the days of summer, how the sun, even the sun, my goodness, even the sun has a choice, is above the earth over against it, and you seek shade and shelter by reason of the heat of the sun, and the earth also burns with growing heat, and so you cannot tread on the earth or on a rock by reason of its heat. So even the sun does that. And so Enoch lays down a very, very firm, all of creation. Not a thing that you see defies the ordinances of Most High. Not a thing.
So could you say really that everything goes by reason of choice?
Everything goes by reason of choice. Would that be a correct statement?
Well, would that change the final outcome? No. Does it alter the way that outcome comes? Yes.
Yeah. Alters the way the outcome will come through.
It won't change what's going to happen. It would just change the events in between then and now.
That's right. That's right. We've just been reading, my wife and myself have just been reading about Judah.
Yes.
What an example there. Judah being prophesied that he was going to be the ancestor of the Messiah. What does Judah decide to do? Go and marry outside of his line. A Canaanite woman, begetting 3 Canaanite sons. Yeah, an impossible situation. How is Most High going to rectify this little indiscrepancy?
But at the same time, it's those little discrepancies that he can very well use for his own advantage.
And there you go. Will Most High ever lose?
No.
No.
I don't think so. Regardless of what we think is the truth or whatever, Most High is not going to lose. My little opinion doesn't matter a farthing. It's going to come what's going to come. And so what happens is that all of a sudden he gets a wife, Tamar, for his first son. He dies. So Tamar, by the custom of the people, has to be given to the second son, Onan, who also dies. The third son is too young to marry yet, so Tamar is even sent away from the house. She's not a part of that household anymore. Oh, now this is an impossible situation, isn't it? How is Judah going to get an heir to be the Messiah? Well, what happens is, the unthinkable. Read it for yourselves, because I'm sure that some folk out there that have not read their scripture would find this difficult to believe and even call me a liar. Read it for yourself. It's in Genesis.
We can actually put the link in the description in the video of where it states this.
Tamar disguises herself as a prostitute. What? And she lures Judah into a tryst whereby she becomes pregnant with twins.
Yes, but in Tamar's defence...
Oh, I'm not saying she's...
No, but just in Tamar's defence, she was just getting justly what was rightfully her.
Yes.
What's the word? It was her right to produce an heir.
Yes.
For Judah's line.
Yes.
Well, it was promised to her, wasn't it?
It was promised to her. And the third son that was promised to her was withheld from her.
Yes.
And as the custom goes, she didn't know any other way. And whether it was a right or wrong choice, the Most High used it.
It was a choice.
It was a choice. And Most High used it to bring forth the twins, Perez and... I've just forgotten the second one.
I can't think of the second one.
But it was Perez that was the line of the Messiah. So Judah didn't do the right thing by his daughter-in-law. And in the end he says she was more righteous than he.
Yeah.
Because she did carry on the line and produced...
And that's a perfect example of the question that was posed here.
That's it. Your
Because
choices won't alter the end result.
There was choices all the way down the line here. The choice of Judah the choice of Judah marrying a Canaanite. For a start, which he shouldn't have done. You needed a clip around the ear hole for that one.
And also because of that, I can actually say that apart from totally disregarding Most High, in more than one way or another, I'd actually dare to say that there's really no such thing as a bad choice. There's just choices that are better than others.
Which is possibly what Peter was alluding to. Go on. Yeah.
The consequences of the outcome aren't necessarily good with some choices.
That's right.
Whereas a better choice will bring better
will bring better short-term and somewhat mid to long-term outcomes, yeah.
And would it be true to say that if you choose wrongly, that...
Poorly,
the damage that's done is to yourself.
And mostly these days to everyone around you as well.
But isn't that choice then? So Judah shouldn't have chosen to marry a Canaanite. But then he went and chose Tamar, which was a right choice, as it turns out. But then he chooses not to honor his pledge by passing her on to the next son.
And lost two in the process.
And then it was her choice to dress like she did and lure him. It was her choice. And then it was his choice to lie with her. So you've got all of these choices. And then, of course, as the story unfolds, he is so angry, he just says, burn her. Another choice. But that choice was subverted, wasn't it?
Until he finds out that
He was the father. Oops.
She produced the evidence that he was the one that lied with her.
Am I bad or what?
In any case, all the choices, regardless of poorly or not, the outcome, Most High still had his outcome, and that was the heir and the lineage of Christ.
It went on regardless.
It went on
Actually,
regardless.
there's an old saying that can pretty much exemplify it, and that's that all roads lead to Rome.
Okay.
Are there some roads that are well paved? Yes. Are
Sure.
there some roads that are littered in broken glass?
Sure.
Yes. It's up to you which one you take.
That's
It
right.
doesn't really matter which one you take.
And often people think that they've got away with it. But there is no such thing as getting away with poor choices.
Well, maybe they do.
Okay.
There are countless amount of people that do get away with what they've chosen to do.
Sure.
But will Most High eventually just take advantage of that and turn that to his own good?
Yeah.
Is a different story.
From what I've read anyway, is that when Most High then, I don't know if the word is correct, the situation, but when Most High gets then control, well, he doesn't ever lose control, but when the situation is steered, Most High's position always comes out even strengthened. It's stronger
It's even stronger.
than before, because it wasn't Judah's sons now that passed down the lineage. It was Judah himself,
Yes. Yes.
which is a stronger position. Yeah, man.
But too, we're talking about choices and consequences. For going back to the evildoers and the sinners that they're talking about here, the outcome's not going to be good. There's a very precise thing that evildoers will perish and the righteous will live.
Well, those are
forever.
the final consequences.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you will either be crispy or
What a word.
laying on a bed of feathers.
Yeah, because obviously
Crispy doesn't sound good.
Not meant to.
I don't understand it yet. But how come Judah can marry a Canaanite woman, which is completely opposite to what Most High wanted, and his father and his mother, and his situation can be corrected and he can be brought back into line, whereas the people that we are reading about in chapter 5, if you want to turn it up, how come they don't get away with it?
Well, that is because Judah repented.
Well, he did. Yeah, that's a great point.
You have that choice till the very end.
I mean, if he hadn't repented, I wonder what the outcome may have been.
Well, can we just define the word repent?
Changing one's mind, changing one's direction. He went back towards Most High.
Yeah. Could I introduce the word learning humility?
Yes. Yep.
Something that we could say evildoers just, it's not that they can't learn it, it's just that they simply don't want to. Not something they're innately capable of doing.
Yes, I would agree. And but why I'm a little cautious is because we have got nowhere near understanding who these things are, of people, things, who these people are, and which Enoch will totally outline for us all to see and make it quite plain who these
Shall we
folk are.
go on then?
Yeah, I'm itching to talk about that. But anyway, patience, right? Patience, yeah. Okay. So,
You, patience? When?
so it says, go back a little. Yeah, sorry, that's it. Observe ye how the trees cover themselves with green leaves and bear fruit, wherefore give ye heed and know with regard to all his works. So he's saying to these others, this other line of
Something.
and recognize how he that liveth forever hath made them so, and he made you as well. But, and all his works go on thus from year to year forever, and all the tasks which they accomplish for him, and their tasks change not, but according as God hath ordained, so it is done. Statement. And behold how the sea and the rivers in like manner accomplish and change not their tasks. But, after saying that, after observing all of that, after getting such a massive object lesson, what's the massive object lesson? How about the earth, the world? I mean, how much bigger object lesson do you want? But ye, we'll find out who the ye are shortly. Ye have not been steadfast, nor done the commandment of the Lord, but ye have turned away and spoken proud and hard words. Doesn't sound like humility to me. Sounds rather rude. Impious.
Well, maybe from their point of view, they are being humble by not doing that.
Humbled? Go on.
Each side has their own version for being correct.
Two stories.
Therefore, in their eyes, what they are doing is correct for them.
They're seeking justice.
Their rightful place according to them.
It's my ball, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
Get your dirty little grubby hands off it. Yeah. But they've made this choice from the perspective of impure mouths against his greatness. That's their starting point.
Pride and harshness.
Yeah. Just a little point here is that, and I won't elaborate on it, but we are so used in our society to our thinking is based on an assumption. So you might assume that a certain fast food is delicious and good and healthy. Because you assume that, you will then eat it because you like it. And no matter how many times someone comes across and says, you know that's actually rubbish. You know that's got so much sugar in it, so much additives in it.
It won't really change or in some cases it does, but it mostly doesn't.
Is that person likely to listen to you based on the facts or by their lusting after the food? they've already made up their mind, and now they're going to look for every conceivable way to prove that that food isn't as bad as is made out.
But then again, you also have the others that know that it's not necessarily good for you, know that the more you eat it, the worse off you're going to be.
Yes.
And just don't really care.
That's right. Tomorrow will take care of itself. I'm not really that interested in, maybe I'll have arthritis and irritable bowel syndrome and depression and high blood pressure and obesity and everything else, but
the burger was worth it.
Yes. He says, "Oh, ye hard-hearted, ye shall find no peace." Now, there's a statement, isn't it? There's a statement that you've got to either take it or leave it. You either there's your fast food, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you want to be pimply and fat with high blood pressure? Oh, it won't happen to me.
But that's what it's saying to them. If you want to be like that, be like that.
Of course, it's their choice.
But this is what's going to happen to you.
Yes.
This is the outcome of your choice.
The outcome of the choice is truly stated. What they choose to do now, although it might be should we say, an immediate truth for them, for the now, isn't the truth in the final outcome. And therefore shall ye execrate your days, and the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied. My goodness. And very sobering, that last line, ye shall find no mercy. Now that becomes very serious if you're dealing with eternal concepts. If you're to say that this universe just carries on regardless, and there'll still be life on the earth in 500, 1,000 years' time. If you believe that that's all going to unwrap that way, and that we're all materially put together, and that we're just a product of evolution, and we're just basically carbon-based life form that came from the Big Bang, and of nothing more than that, well, go for it. If that's your truth, go for it. No problem there.
Would you take that risk, though?
On the other hand, if Enoch is telling the truth, on the other hand, so there's a bit of a weighing scale going on here, isn't it? Should I believe people that argue all the time, never get it right, always contradict each other, and have endless theories and hypotheses which can never be proved? Or, on the other hand, should I listen to books that were written thousands of years ago that were very, very close to the beginning of things and witnessed everything that ever happened and had a pretty good idea of how this goes down as of when it started?
But that's where it can get really interesting, because if you look at it from a different perspective of pure consequences, right?
Okay.
Say science is right.
Okay.
And all of it is baloney.
Yeah.
Believing in it will have no consequence whatsoever.
Okay.
But if for some reason it isn't, and you're not believing on it, your consequences are quite severe.
Yeah, what did they call that? Some philosophers wager?
We'll just take it as a toss of a coin. Even if it's just a simple wager. I'd always put my money on the card that I know that I'm less likely to lose on.
Yeah, good choice.
If I know that by giving myself to Most High, I'll win either way.
Yeah, okay.
Well, then that's where I'll go. Because I'll win whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong.
Now, I think some people would come back on you for that and say you're behaving like a wimp.
Do they have a justification behind those words? I'll listen to it.
Science is right. Get some backbone, Sky.
What difference is it going to make? If it is right, let it be right. It won't change anything for me. But if I take science side and they're not right,
yes,
well, yeah, that crispy.
That's not going to work out that good.
I think I'd feel crispy at that point. I'd rather take the side where I know I'm going to win regardless of its outcome.
Sure. See, a lot of okay. I'm just going to play the advocate again. So people would say, aren't you then just trying to frighten and cajole people into believing some sort of a spirituality?
No, because I don't necessarily want people to believe me. I don't care if other people believe me or not. I know what I believe,
okay,
and that's what I'm after.
Okay.
Now, if in the process I can gain a further understanding of what I believe thanks to other people,
yes,
then that's even greater.
Okay. Are you saying that you are prepared to learn as much as you can and thereby weigh up your current situation?
Starting from the base that I don't necessarily believe that I am correct,
okay,
means that I'm willing to learn from every source of information that I can get.
Okay.
That's what seeking the truth means. It means be prepared for the case in where you might be wrong.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is that my current stance with what I believe makes no difference whether I'm right or wrong.
Okay.
That's why I talk about the risk. Do you want to take the risk of being wrong?
Okay.
If you are wrong, what are your consequences?
Okay.
To me, if I'm wrong, makes no consequence.
Okay.
The world keeps spinning, life moves on.
Yes.
If I'm right,
yes,
things change.
Yes. Yeah. I've got so much to say about that.
But that is what I choose to believe.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
At least in this case, I win either way. I win if I'm right, I win if I'm wrong. That is the point that I try to get across.
Pascal's wager.
Well,
I
haven't heard that one.
Pascal's wager. Anyway, sorry, go on. I don't want to throw you. Yeah.
And that's what I mean about a communal truth.
Yeah.
It is a truth that it is irrelevant of whether it's true or not.
Yes. Hang on, let me see. It's irrelevant as to whether it's true or not?
That's right.
Go on, explain that.
It's irrelevant of whether or not everything that we are seeing is true.
Yeah, carry on.
As long as I don't go against Most High.
All right.
The choices that I make in life will only influence how rocky or well-paved my road is going to be towards that choice.
Okay. See, some would equate the fact, some would say, okay, especially if they're just looking at this vid for the first time, they could be excused as sort of saying, oh, they just want to be, pretty good, cushy, kissy up church people.
Yeah, about that one. People will soon learn what my opinion is of churches, but
Ooh,
yeah.
We won't go into that one.
We won't go into that one quite just yet. But no, it has nothing to do with church. It has nothing to do really with people.
Yes.
Mainly just has to do with what I've learned in life.
Yes.
And what has been taught to me, not necessarily by people.
Yes. Yeah. Just to break in there, as we go on, you'll find that Sky is probably an unusual type of a person, and
Just pick that up.
very unusual and
Unique.
Unique.
As
Everyone's
we all
unique.
are.
Everyone's
As we all
Everyone
are.
is
Everyone's
unique.
unique.
Everyone is special within their own right.
That's right. Yep. I'm probably bizarre.
You're the strange one of the bunch. Hell, where does that leave me?
Anyway,
I
I
say
think
nothing.
the time's ticking here. So, all right, please, folks. Yeah, let's have comments. This is great. Love it. This is what actually this channel's all about, eh? This is all about stirring the pot, addressing the comments, and totally encourage people to question, think about it, comment about it, debate about it. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
But it really is important for people to reach their own truth.
Absolutely.
Now, if that truth is in line
Yeah.
with that of others,
Yeah.
even better.
So you're not saying that they reach their own truth and therefore nothing else will happen to them. It's just that that's the truth that they arrive in.
Well, what
You're not
about
saying that.
reaching the truth from Most High
For his sake.
for His sake?
Yes.
Not someone's own truth for themselves.
Yes.
And that's what I meant about doing something regardless of the reward. The reason behind doing something or not doing something has always been about the reward behind the line. But it's not about doing something for yourself in this case. It's about doing something for Most High. All our lives we've been taught that it's all about us, where it never was about us.
That's right.
It's all about Him. We are His creation, and He smiles when He sees us smile.
We've been prepared as a bride, and therefore we should have that that excited expectancy that we're just about to, well, we're betrothed, but we're just about to enter into matrimony. Awesome stuff.
And with that, at least for today, we'll conclude this second episode. But please, by all means, as we keep repeating, leave your comments, ask your questions, leave your input. We want to hear it all. Be it good, be it bad. Good or bad will depend on each person's point of view.
Sure.
Until the next one.